Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're slipping into the shadows of Arcist. It's this massive city built on, well, forgotten ruins. And the atmosphere there, it's just thick with paranoia. You get the sense that everyone is watched.
Absolutely. Total anonymity, forget about it. Every move, every transaction, it's all tracked by these powerful city factions. Yet the sources, they drop us right into this one secret meeting, a place where somehow someone's actually managed to slip off the grid.
Okay, so that's our mission for you today, right?
Right.
To really analyze this setup. We need to figure out how this really fragile new alliance is gearing up. They're looking at fighting on two fronts, it seems, against a ruthless political power, the Silver Veil, and something else, something ancient.
Yeah, possibly cosmic even, something that might threaten reality itself. And we also need to understand the price, what our main character, Starfaller, demands just to get involved.
Right. Okay, let's get into this. High-stakes environment. We meet Starfaller. He's an assassin, raised by the Grim Shadows, notorious group. But the first thing we learn isn't about his skills. It's about this act of rebellion. He's undetectable right now.
And that anonymity, it's not easy, not cheap. The source material says he's using a very costly shadow art technique, something he learned outside the usual Grim Shadows playbook.
Uh-huh.
It's so obscure, so powerful, that his old masters, they just assume he's, sleeping it off or maybe at the local brothel, wasting time.
Wow. That says a lot, doesn't it? That real freedom in Arcist costs, well, not just money, but this forbidden knowledge.
Yeah.
Expensive knowledge. What's that tell us about his priorities right now?
It signals a break, I think. A fundamental break from how the Grim Shadows operate. They're all about transactions. Gold, power. Starfaller, though. He's risking his reputation, his resources, for something personal. This meeting isn't sanctioned.
And the location you mentioned. It highlights this internal conflict.
Perfectly. He's meeting them in the temple ruins. This forgotten place the city literally just built around, ignored. And the air there, the sources say it's thick with ancient power long forgotten.
Okay, so the ruins themselves, they mean something to him personally. The sources keep linking this place back to some trauma.
Exactly. It's the core of his character, really. Early in his career, on a kill mission, he falls onto what they call a curse nexus point.
Should have killed him.
Shoulda. But instead, he blacks out, wakes up covered in blood, targets just obliterated violently. But the key thing, the feeling the source points out, he felt like a hero from old stories.
Whoa, hold on. So the trauma isn't just the violence, the near-death thing.
Yeah.
It's that this dark power, it felt good. Or, like, noble.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's the anti-hero paradox right there.
Precisely. And the source keeps reminding us. He has nightmares, wakes up screaming, shaking sometimes, haunted by these flashes of dark energy, of blood. His whole identity is tangled up in that moment. That traumatic, dark transformation where, heroism and horror kind of blurred together. And this is the guy leading this new alliance, this unstable, powerful figure.
Okay, so if Starfaller is that volatile, how do the others react? Lyra and Saren. They're described as dangerous, too. Does their trust kind of balance out his darkness?
Well, that's what makes this trio so interesting to look at. They are cynical, lethal, probably self-interested on some level, but their bond, it's deep, built on history. First, you've got Lyra Shadowstep. She's a rogue, has this major vendetta against her old guild, described with predatory grace, deadly precision, daggers always ready, strapped to her thighs, the source mentioned.
Sounds like deer action, yeah.
And then Saren Nightwhisper. She's the intel person. Mage, healer, spy. Covers a lot of ground. Saren's the brains, maybe the arcane muscle too. The description focuses on her potential power. Violet eyes, that glimmer. It's a sign of dormant magic. Comes from a cursed bloodline of witches. Powerful witches who, importantly, bow to no one. They have this ancient strength the city factions can't really control.
So we have the unstable powers in Starfaller, the vengeful blade in Lyra, and the arcane strategist in Saren. And their former lovers. Saved each other's lives too many times to count. Okay, so that's the trust factor. History is the only currency that matters to them.
Exactly, and that shared history. That's pretty much the only reason Starfaller is even listening to something that doesn't offer immediate profit.
Yeah.
He knows his own organization, the Grim Shadows. They only care about gold coins or power. This bigger worry. They wouldn't touch it unless it directly impacted their bottom line.
Right.
But Starfaller listens to Lyra and Saren because, as he puts it, they don't cry wolf unless there's a real wolf nearby. He trusts their judgment.
Okay, so this initial threat feels like typical Arcist Guild politics, right?
Yeah.
The Silver Veil making moves. But Saren's intel changes things.
It starts there. The Silver Veil, a major city faction. Saren brings the news. They're gathering info, preparing for something big.
Mm.
And this is where Lyra, the cynic, just scoffs. Says the Silver Veil is always preparing for something, standard operating procedure for them.
But then it takes that turn, doesn't it, into something stranger. What does Saren reveal that makes them all pause?
She drops the crucial detail. Whispers of an outside force aiding them, and then the kicker. Something not entirely human.
Oh, okay. That's the moment they realize this isn't just about political maneuvering anymore.
Yeah, suddenly it's not just enhanced politics. It changes the whole game, raises the possibility of, a demon or devil, perhaps, or something worse.
And that's what gets Starfaller, the ultimate cynic, finally on board. But he has a price, of course. He won't help for free. He demands the location of the Archives of Midnight.
It's a huge ask. The archives are, mostly considered a myth, protected by ancient guardians and wards.
Yeah.
The source is very clear. Nobody goes in and comes back out. Successfully, anyway. So trading this info, it's incredibly risky for Lyra and Saren.
So why agree? What's supposedly in the archives that makes it worth giving Starfaller the key to this legendary death trap?
Well, according to the myth, or maybe it's more than myth, the archives hold a relic, something that grants visions, specifically visions of the city's darkest secrets.
Tactical advantage.
Massive tactical advantage. For Lyra and Saren, this means they could potentially anticipate our enemies' moves before they make them. See what the Silver Veil is planning. It's survival. Strategic survival in a city like Arcust.
Okay, so the trade makes sense.
Yeah.
Starfaller offers his unique skills, his untraceable blade, essentially, and they give him the map to this mythical, dangerous vault. But let's shift to what they find out next. The identity of that something not entirely human.
Right. So over the next few days, Starfaller digs around. He discovers the Silver Veil haven't just allied with something, they've made a pact. With a cult, a new cult, apparently rising fast. And it's not just random fanatics. They're described as pale-eyed zealots, dedicated to a being called Malzeroth.
Malzeroth. And the titles, they're designed to be terrifying. Lord of Whispers, the Black Dream, the Unmaker. Starfaller tries to rationalize it at first, like usual cult nonsense. Shows his default cynicism, I guess.
Yeah, he tries. But then the disappearances start, and this is what signals that this threat is different. People just vanish. Their homes found empty, completely empty. The source emphasizes no blood, no bodies, just gone.
That's chilling. The absence of evidence is the evidence.
Exactly. Even the city's top informant, Ratcatcher, comes up empty, which confirms something supernatural is actively messing with things, blinding the usual information networks.
Okay, so Starfaller realizes blades aren't enough here. He needs knowledge. Forbidden knowledge, probably.
Yeah.
So he seeks out Thorn Blackflame, an old mentor.
Yeah, one of his oldest mentors, a retired Grim Shadows rogue mage, master of forbidden arts, apparently, the perfect guy to ask about this stuff. They meet deep beneath the city, in the catacombs. Great setting for this kind of revelation.
And Thorn's reaction to the name Malzeroth. That's key, isn't it? You said this veteran rogue mage who deals in darkness, he actually gets scared.
Visibly scared, yeah. The source captures this moment where all his usual amusement just evaporates. That shift from cynical insider knowledge to genuine, gut fear. It tells Starfaller and us that this is serious.
Okay, so Thorn spills it. Malzeroth belongs to the old ones.
The old ones. And the sources define them pretty clearly. Ancient horrors, things not meant for this world. Primal entities. Thorn reveals Malzeroth was worshipped way back by civilizations lost to time, and he suggests this entity was actually defeated somewhere beneath this very city, ages ago.
So the cosmic threat is literally tied to the foundations of Arcust.
Wow. And Thorn isn't just giving a history lesson, right? Starfaller asks if maybe the cult is just, using the name, trying to find a rational explanation. He tries, but Thorn hits him with the nightmare scenario. Or he's real, or waking. And that flicks the whole mission. It's not just a high-stakes political game anymore. It's a desperate fight to stop a cosmic horror from waking up and maybe erasing the city, maybe everything.
Okay, wow. So now we have this massive external threat. We need to connect it back to Starfaller's personal drive, his quest for the Archives of Midnight. It wasn't just for the Alliance's tactical game, was it? It ties back to that cursed nexus, his trauma.
This is where it all comes together.
Yes.
Ever since that incident, that transformation, he's been having these recurring dreams, powerful dreams, of the Eye, an unknown artifact, something singular, immensely powerful.
The Eye. And his allies, Lyra and Saren, they figured out where it is.
They helped him track it down, did the legwork. And they confirmed, or at least strongly suspect, that the resting place of this artifact, this Eye, which is rumored to hold power from beyond this world,
Let me guess.
it's inside the Archives of Midnight.
Of course it is. So Starfaller's play is brilliant in a way. He uses the existential threat of Malzerov as leverage to get access to his own personal, potentially world-breaking power source. He needs an upgrade to fight the big bad, and he's going to get it from a place that promises death or madness.
Pretty much. It's high risk, high reward, driven by this deep personal need rooted in his trauma.
Which brings us to the end point before he goes in. The trio meets again. Hidden entrance, stairway carved into the bones of the city.
Yeah.
Very atmospheric.
Yeah, and Saren, she's the practical one here. She knows the dangers of forbidden knowledge. She casts protective wards. And look at the specifics. Wards against illusions, against curses, and crucially, against madness. That tells you everything about the archives. They don't just kill you, they break your mind.
And Lyra gives him that classic, grim farewell. Recognizes the odds. We'll wait here till dawn. If you're not back by then, we'll assume you're either dead or lost.
Standard rogue protocol, maybe? But Starfaller's response, it sums up the character forged in that bloody nexus, chasing this forbidden power. I never turn back. And then he just steps into the darkness to find the eye or become another forgotten story beneath Arcist.
Okay, so we've really pulled together the threads here. Starfaller's ambition, driven by trauma, that personal hunt for the eye within the archives, and how that meshes, maybe clashes, with this huge external threat, Malzerov, the old one, stirring beneath the city.
And you see that sharp contrast in loyalty types, right?
Yeah.
The grim shadows, cold transactional power, all about the gold. Pure corruption, really. Then you have this fragile, deep trust between the three allies, rooted in shared history, shared survival, and maybe that's the only thing that can stand against something truly cosmic.
So the final thought we want to leave you with, it circles back to that origin point, that cursed nexus. Starfaller's whole journey kicked off when dark energy, blood, and power merged, and left him feeling like a hero from old stories.
So the question becomes, when ultimate power is born from such a traumatic, dark transformation, what does that do to the person, to their soul? Is the power itself inherently tainted? Or is that very trauma, that darkness, maybe the necessary crucible, the thing you need to face horrors that are not meant for this world? Does it turn a potentially villainous act into a kind of necessary evil?
Something for you to think about as Starfaller heads into the archives, facing the promise of power and madness.